Everyone thinks they know the story. A few brave colonists, a king who taxed their tea, a revolution born from freedom. But what if I told you that story is missing half the truth? Today we're pulling back the curtain on the American Revolution, the parts your textbooks never taught you. Sure, no taxation without representation makes a great slogan. But the real trigger? British debt. After the 7 Years' War ended in 1763, Britain was financially exhausted. They'd just fought a massive global war, partly to protect the American colonies from French forces. And now they expected the colonists to help pay for it. The colonists said, absolutely not. What Britain saw as a fair request, the colonists saw as tyranny. And here's what the textbooks gloss over. Many colonial leaders weren't poor farmers fighting for survival. They were wealthy merchants, lawyers, and landowners whose profit margins were being squeezed. This wasn't just a fight for freedom, it was also a fight for economic control. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The revolution wasn't just fought by white colonial men. Not even close. Over 5,000 black men served in the Continental Army, some hoping that victory would bring them freedom. On the British side, Lord Dunmore's proclamation in 1775 promised freedom to any enslaved person who escaped and joined British forces. Thousands ran. Native American tribes sided mostly with the British because they feared what American expansion would mean for their lands. Spoiler, they were right to be afraid. And women, while they couldn't fight officially, they ran farms, gathered intelligence, and managed supplies. Deborah Sampson actually disguised herself as a man and fought in battle. The revolution was a coalition, messy, complicated, and far more diverse than the portraits on your dollar bills suggest. Here's a fact that'll shock you. George Washington's army was on the verge of collapse multiple times. By the winter of 1777 at Valley Forge, soldiers were barefoot in the snow. Men were dying of disease, not battle. Desertion rates were through the roof. Congress was broke. Washington himself wrote letters saying he wasn't sure they could keep going. What saved the revolution? France. France, still furious over their loss to Britain in the 7 Years' War, secretly and then openly funded the American cause. French money, French troops, and French naval power were critical to the American victory at Yorktown in 1781. The American Revolution was also a French revenge plot. So America won. Freedom for all, right? Not quite. The Declaration of Independence declared all men are created equal. But slavery wasn't just tolerated. It was protected in the new Constitution. The very founders who wrote about liberty owned human beings. Thousands of Loyalists, Americans who stayed loyal to Britain, were driven from their homes, had their property seized, and fled to Canada or the Caribbean. Up to 80,000 people were exiled. Forgotten history. And those Native American allies of the British, once the war ended, Britain abandoned them in the peace treaty and left them to face American expansion alone. Victory came at a complex, painful cost. The American Revolution was a turning point in world history, a genuinely remarkable achievement. But the full story, with all its contradictions, all its forgotten heroes, all its uncomfortable truths, is even more powerful than the legend. Because history isn't just about the winners, it's about everyone who shaped it. If this opened your eyes, like this video and subscribe, because we're just getting started.